What's up everybody, it's me E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews, and today we're going to review Spider-Man Far From Home. Alright, let's get right into a quick intro. Following the events of Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man has to become a hero on a much larger stage to take on some new threats. Okay, enough of that, let's get right into the good.
The good.
Now, in terms of the overall plot, I thought that Far From Home did a really good job in terms of addressing a number of different issues. First off, after both Infinity War and Endgame, there were a lot of questions that were unresolved, and Far From Home wasted little to no time to speak on them. We also had a slightly more complex plot that allowed for Peter Parker's character to really grow and develop. Lastly, the post-credit scenes of this film were not only amazingly fun, but they also gave some really interesting things to look forward to in the MCU. As far as the acting, Tom Holland was given the opportunity to really demonstrate his acting chops in this movie. I thought his performance was incredibly convincing given the various situations his character, Peter Parker, had to deal with. His best moments probably came during some of the more dramatic, climactic scenes where his character really couldn't contain his emotional frustration. I thought he did a fantastic job in his performance because if you followed his journey in the MCU, then you totally feel the weight of his emotional burden and tension that builds up throughout the movie. In addition to that, I thought that Holland and Zendaya had some really great on-screen chemistry together. I appreciated how Zendaya's character MJ had progressed a little bit more compared to her last appearance in Spider-Man Homecoming. Both her and Holland really sell the impression that they're just two young teens dealing with new feelings and emotions. Now, I do want to touch on another important factor, and those were the important themes that impacted Peter Parker's character. One of the themes Peter Parker struggles with was the notion of becoming a hero on a much larger scale. Given the unfortunate situation with his mentor Tony Stark in the previous Endgame movie, it's interesting to see how Parker confronts this new challenge. On top of that, Parker also has to deal with the constant and very familiar theme of responsibility throughout the film. What makes most of these themes so compelling is that Parker must find a way to juggle both a larger sense of responsibility and find his identity as a hero at the same time. By compounding both of those themes, it provided a great amount of depth to the character of Peter Parker, which by the way is very true to his comic book roots. As an added bonus, we get a few instances of Spider-Man utilizing his intellect and resourcefulness in very tough situations. While it may not have been on the same level, I thought it was very reminiscent of the ingenuity his mentor Tony Stark demonstrated back in that cave during the first Iron Man movie. Next up, we've got to talk about the new character Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. First off, Jake Gyllenhaal is astounding in regards to his performance. I won't give any spoilers away, but I'll just say that he does an amazing job at capturing the true essence of his character. I didn't think that the writing for his character was very strong at all, but his quality performance makes that a complete afterthought. As for the character of Mysterio himself, I thought he was depicted perfectly. The background of his character is modernized in a way to still make him practical and realistic, well, you know, within the MCU. What I really appreciated with Mysterio is that he does challenge Spider-Man's character to grow in unconventional ways. Now, I can't go into detail about how that growth occurs because it would spoil the movie a bit, but you'll understand it when you see it. Now, one thing that makes Mysterio and Spider-Man work so well in this movie are the captivating special effects. Mysterio's powers and abilities are really unique in their application, and the closest we could compare to it in a visual sense would be to Doctor Strange and his powers. The CGI special effects really make Mysterio's powers a sight to see whenever they're on display. Besides that, Spider-Man also benefited from those special effects with some really solid cinematography. I thought the camera work was the most effective whenever Spider-Man was engaging in some fast-paced action scenes. You almost get the sense that you're going right along for the ride during those exhilarating web-slinging moments. Alright, enough of that, let's get on to the bad.
The bad.
I think the weakest point in Far From Home probably comes from the elevation of the supporting cast. In some cases, the additional screen time that Parker's classmates received seemed a little bit too extra. I'll fully admit that this is a minor nitpick, but there were some instances in the film that felt a little forced just for the sake of the plot. What I mean is that you'll have characters conveniently be in a dangerous situation just to give Spider-Man something to do. In other words, instead of creating a dangerous situation, it felt like there were just moments in the movie that were just there for the sake of adding drama to the story. Thankfully, most of those moments included enough action or humor to keep the movie entertaining. However, that humor would be hit or miss. Most of the misses, if not all of them, came from JB Smoother's character. It was pretty sad to see because JB is typically a pretty funny guy, but his character and the comedy just didn't seem to work for this movie. I believe that the problem laid in the fact that there was no comedic payoff with the running joke that's attached to him in the film. Basically, if his scenes were cut from the movie, the film wouldn't have skipped a single beat. Okay, enough of that. Let's get on to the reason.
The reason.
Spider-Man Far From Home is the perfect palate cleanser for the bittersweet ending of Avengers Endgame, and yet still manages to be one of the better Spider-Man movies to date. In my opinion, Far From Home does surpass the likes of Spider-Man Homecoming, but I'd still give the slight edge to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse as being the best Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man will continue to gradually grow into one of the top figures to really lead the MCU after the departure of Iron Man and others. So when it comes to the rating for Spider-Man Far From Home, I've got to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Spider-Man Far From Home is a definite fun watch and definitely worth seeing in theaters. As with most Marvel movies, you should already know by now, stay all the way to the very end because there are 2 post-credit scenes. And let me tell you, one of them is ridiculously fun. I mean, I got so excited, I was sitting in the theater like, yes! Yes! Like, it was crazy cool what they do. I loved it. I had fun. I'm just saying it was some real good fan service delivered in that one post-credit scene. And that second post-credit scene, whew, let me just say, that's gonna open up a whole nother can of worms for the entire MCU. So anyway, are you excited to go see Spider-Man Far From Home? When you do go see it, come on back to this video and let me know what you thought about the movie. I'd also like to know, where does this Spider-Man rank for you among the other Spider-Man movies? Anyway, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I always appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I've got more videos and reviews to do for you all, and until next time, I'll see you all later.